My name is Harry Fisher. I'm from Simpsonville, South Carolina. I'm a state delegate, and today I'm here to talk about President Trump's visit to Pickens, South Carolina, which was July the 1st, 2023. It was quite the experience for me personally. I'm sure many of you might be wondering, how did I get involved in the motorcade for President Trump? It just so happens that I'm a delegate for the state of South Carolina. I'm in Greenville County, and President Trump needed some volunteers, and the head of their motorcade reached out to the appropriate people within Greenville County and our Republican Party and asked if they could find a couple of volunteers. Well, knowing that I'd like to think of myself as a strong patriot, along with my wife, Angie, they thought that I would be a good choice to be in that motorcade and drive one of the vehicles for the, in that presidential motorcade. Went to bed that Friday night, went to bed about 11 or 12, and I woke up at 3 o'clock because this is one event I did not want to be late to. My wife will tell me that I like to run like a train, but not today. I was excited to be part of history. I was expecting Pickens, South Carolina to turn out in force for our president. South Carolina is about God, country, and family. And so I was excited. On a personal standpoint, I was excited to be part of something really big. We went back to GSP. The president's plane was coming in. So we went from Pickens back to GSP, and then we formed a, there was much security there. Without getting into any detail, they were well prepared for the president's visit. Of course, at that point, they lined up the formation of vehicles, how they would be laid out, and we pulled onto the tarmac where the president would be landing. And it was quite exciting. I was in communication with my wife and friends who were at the Pickens event. The plane flew over the Pickens crowd, and the president's plane landed, I think it was about 11:20 that day. So I knew the plane would be coming in. Well, when that plane touched down at the airport at GSP, and I'm there on the tarmac, and that plane rolled up, I saw freedom. I saw a man fighting for us. I didn't even see the man yet. I just saw his plane. I don't know what Air Force One looks like or the feeling you get in looking at Air Force One, but I looked at that Trump plane. I'll call it Trump Force One. That plane was pretty impressive, and it gave me a feeling of pride to be an American and to be there. The president and his team disembarked the plane. Everybody, they already had their assigned vehicles, and everybody got into the vehicles, and then the motorcade proceeded. As we talk about this, or we think about the event itself, there was so much pride out there from law enforcement. President Trump is a fan favorite of law enforcement, that I could see. When that plane came rolling up, when he was coming down the steps, a lot of folks had their camera out. Of course, there were a lot of security there that didn't have their phones out. They had something else out. They were ready, but they had their phones out. And the state troopers of South Carolina were there. A lot of respect for them. It's one thing we could all sit here and think, well, what's a state trooper on a motorcycle do? When you see these men in action and flying around your motorcade at speeds, we were pretty fast. We were 80 miles an hour at times, and they passed us up standing still to make sure the motorcade was protected and the road was clear ahead. You get a lot of respect for these men and the job, not only to protect us, but ready to go into action at any given time. So my own feelings at this time, I'm still excited. This is life in the fast lane. Felt really good. It was energizing. As we got off of the interstate, I thought we drove past Easley, South Carolina, And again, I'm a transplant here 20 years ago, still don't know all the roads. I'm thinking we're driving way past, but we came in a different way into Pickens. And this is the part that caught me by surprise. The part that caught me by surprise is that as we came off the interstate and started to go through the back roads, there were all the crowds, the people were coming out of their homes, and they were just pulling on the side of the road. And what gave me a really good feeling, you didn't see black, you didn't see white, you didn't see old. I saw some pretty tough guys that were there waving. And it was at that moment when I saw the real diversity of Americans on each side of the road, me included. That's when I began to feel emotional inside. I could feel it starting to build up, and it caught me by surprise because it was one of those moments in time when you think you're in control, but you're not. But I heard Lee Greenwood's song, his intro song, "I'm Proud to Be an American." And I realized at that moment, we were all cut from one fabric. It didn't matter if you were rich, it didn't matter if you were poor, it didn't matter who you were. And there were people that I saw that they looked well off, and I saw people that looked as though that they didn't have a whole lot. And I realized that we were all there hoping for one thing. We were there, one, to show our respect for the president, our leader, the one who gives us hope for the future, and the one who we want to return us back to the United States of America as we all know it to be, and not what we're experiencing right now. That caught me off guard, and only in the sense that up until that point, I didn't know that sense of, I knew I was a patriot, but I didn't know it would come out in that form. And so the president, we pulled into Pickens. I never did see the event itself. I was behind the stage, although I was playing it on my cell phone. I got to watch it that way. It was a hot day. And I guess the thing, and I've watched all the video clips, the thing that really touches you, everybody's out there hoping for a better America. It was called 95 degrees with matching humidity. I was by a first aid station, and the crews were there tending to people, and the people were just being dragged back and dropping like flies. The speech went on for an hour and 15 minutes, but from what I could tell, very few people left. And of course, I've seen all the videos since and the speech in replays. But in driving out there, I told the group that I was with, I think the president will be quite pleased with the reception that he's going to get. And quite frankly, I told them that President Trump is the George Washington of our times. And we're looking for him to lead us through this, to give us the courage. And when you listen to President Trump, at least for me personally, I feel inspired. It gives me hope. That's all you have in life is hope. And if you lose hope, you don't have anything else left. But he's going to get us to the next step beyond what we're experiencing today. Well, at that point, when his speech ended, we all got back into our cars. I didn't venture far from the vehicle I was in. That was a directive. Oh, by the way, that's one day you don't wing it on your own. I don't care who you are. You may be the most confident guy in the world, but that's one thing. When the pros tell you what to do, you say yes, sir, and you don't question it. I was told to be by my car, so I was by my car for that entire time. We got back into after the speech, everybody got back into their vehicles. We sped off back towards the interstate, back towards GSP. But there's one event there's one thing that I did witness that again almost brought me to a tear that day. And there was an old man. He was standing by his mailbox. Didn't look like he had much. His shirt was off. And when I say old, I'm talking probably a guy about 80. And he was waving to the motorcade. And he was waving to the car that I was in. And I'm thinking, man, I'm just like you. I'm just a guy who got the good fortune of being in this and being part of history and being part of the history of South Carolina, which I hope leaves an impact as we roll into the 2024 elections, because it was quite impressive. When we got back to GSP, there were people standing outside. We arrived at the back entrance by a lot of the warehouses. Don't ask me the name of the warehouse, I frankly don't know. But a lot of warehouse workers came out and they were waving to him. There were people waving, as soon as we got off the interstate, there were people waving all along the motorcade. But we got back to the GSP. Everybody, we pulled up in front of his plane, and then everybody got out of their vehicles. He said his goodbyes to everybody, took pictures with the troopers and anybody else, some of the dignitaries that were there. Everybody waited, the plane, the door closed, everybody waited until the plane actually had wheels up. But I have to tell you again, as touching as it was to see that plane roll up to the gate, and you see that plane as an American, and I'm old enough to know what this country is, what it should be. I knew a lot of the greatest generation that gave me the freedom to sit here today. And when you see that plane back up, didn't back up, it actually pulled out towards the runway and roll down the runway. You see America, you see hope for this country and for all those that came before us. That's what you think about. And I mentioned the greatest generation. They sacrificed everything. They put it on the line so we enjoy the America that we have, and we can pass that on to the next generation. And when that plane lifted off the ground, I just said, my God, I hope you're the next president of the United States. If it's done fairly, he will be, because we sure need him. Again, he's the George Washington of our time, and I was proud to do it, and I'd love to do it again.